So obviously he is mortified, and you could have seen it yesterday. He was nervous. Unfortunately, it did very little to make people look up at politicians. It was classless. It was unfortunate. Having a prime minister speak and referring to a political party saying the name of the NTA is not that and say what the A is, I ask you all, and you have a previous minister of national security shouting out that word, and you have children in Fatima College, a prestige school, and that's what you will do. It was really classless. It was classless that a prime minister will race bait again, try to state that we are trying to provide firearms for one race and not another, and that is deliberately to cause division in the country. And that basically what we saw yesterday was very unfortunate. It was full of lies, deceit. I will deal with it at a later time, but I mean, speaking about going back and regurgitate the Stanley John report, Stanley John did this report for 2 years, and he said it was a well-oiled criminal industry. He disgraced and embarrassed the police service and with lies, because 2 years later, not one person has even been questioned as it pertains to white-collar crime, anything pertaining to bribery or anything like that. So it was all a lie.
Do you believe that this attack was personal, or that the PNM is threatened by the NTA?
They're definitely threatened. If it is that we were irrelevant, we were insignificant, he wouldn't spend 47 minutes out of 55 dealing with it and then bringing up all sort of different pieces of nonsense, speaking about we are giving firearms to everyone. We gave out 0.5% of firearms to the population, 0.15%. And that half of it was to law enforcement officials and also to ensure law-abiding citizens receive firearms. And he has an issue with it. The hypocrisy of him is that he was the same one, and I'll make it known for the first time because this has gone too far. He was the person harassing me on my phone, begging me to get a firearm dealership license for his friend in Tobago. And so you don't like firearms, but you were harassing me to get a firearm dealership license to sell hundreds of guns for your friend in Tobago, and harass me to build a range so that more people could use firearms in Tobago. It was unfortunate. It was very, and even his own supporters started attacking him, because instead of you trying to explain to the country, why should you vote for me? You do your usual Keith Rowley's attitude, and you knew when he was losing it, because all of a sudden he started, and as soon as that starts, you know, well, that's it, he has lost it. It was really unfortunate. Deal with the issues, Keith. He would not want to ever debate with me. And then, speaking about that, attacking people, anybody who says something he's not pleased with, he attacks, he discredits, he destroys, he divides. We at the NTA intend to do something totally different. We intend to unite, we intend to build, we intend to be productive.
Well, I was just about to ask, what is it about the NTA, a fairly new party, that would threaten the longest standing political party in the country?
Popularity, because this is not about the PNM versus the NTA per se. This is Gary versus Rowley, and that is what he's mortified for. His biggest concern is when that poll came out. I think it came from TV6, in fact. And in Nigeria, that poll said that 89% of the country were pleased with my performance and wanted me to stay or had no issue with me returning. When the poll showed that 14% of public trust in the police service was in 2018, and then when I left, it was 55%. When it is that it showed that every single major crime was reduced and it was the highest reduction in crime, and the popularity built, he started getting concerned. And that's what caused the problem and the rift with us. And with that now, he is concerned that if this becomes a Gary versus Rowley in the corridor, he is going to lose. Because let us put the focus now back to this, about what is going on in this local government election. I'm not going to go down to the gutter with Keith Rowley. That is his standard. I have no intention to do that. And the coalitions are something that every single time there's a proper structured coalition between political parties, the PNM would lose. 1986, 1995, 2010 general, 2010 local government. Anytime there's not a coalition, the PNM wins every single time, other than one occasion, and that government lasted a few months. So he obviously understands. The last time there was that type of coalition of forces between the COP, that third constituency, and the initials change, whether it is, you call it ONR, NAR, COP, NTA, it will change. But that 150,000 odd continues. And with that joining with the UNC, the PNM is usually defeated. So his job now is, as I said last night, that is the launch of the campaign. As soon as the candidates are nominated, so your first meeting is in the PNM heartland, and to spend 47 minutes, 47 minutes out of 55 to speak about Gary
Tell us
Griffith.
about the NTA, the electoral districts that you would be contesting.
Yeah, sure. So again, the accommodation is in such a way that the focus for the NTA would be in what you call the corridor, from Diego Martin moving into Port of Spain, San Juan Lavantil, Tunapuna, Arima, and also Point Fortin. and the UNC, their focus will primarily be based in the central and the southern areas. So you want to put it in a structure of the political landmass for war. It's at in the central and south. It's going to be Kamala versus Rowley. The corridor, Gary versus Rowley. You choose.
And of course, you did mention the 150,000 strong voters. We're talking about those swing voters. We're talking about, those university graduates, those who are more concerned about the issues at hand as opposed to tribal voting.
Yeah, definitely, and that is where that has continued to build. There was a poll that actually saw recently, and it's the only scientific poll done so far, and that scientific poll actually had something along the line again, where the NTA we were about 10%, the COP was about 12%, but we're just less than a year old. And so it's almost the same of the 150. That has not changed. And people, sometimes they're independent thinkers, persons who are not PNM or UNC till they die. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with you wanting to be PNM or UNC. Those independent thinkers, especially younger persons, and when you look at the data that we had, mostly when you speak about younger persons, anyone under 40, they're not caught up. But this thing has become so nasty. We actually have a candidate that was actually thrown out of his home 2 nights ago because his parents are PNM. And they said, what you have done is disgrace this house, get out, do not come back. And we had to try to find somewhere for him to stay. That is how nasty this thing is getting. We have another candidate I've heard from another party where they've threatened him and said that because you're working for the state, you have to disqualify yourself or we will fire you. It is very nasty. And what I'm trying to do is to ensure that there's a space, there's a place for those independent thinkers who really want to see a better Trinidad and Tobago.
Now, if you look at data from past elections, referring to those very years that you would have referred to, what could also be noted is that the PNM base, the PNM strongholds, in order to express their dissatisfaction, they don't necessarily vote for another party. They just withhold their vote. You see the numbers decline, the voter turnout, and so on decline, even within their strongholds. How do you propose to get those people to vote for the NTA?
To really understand, let us just focus on the issues, focus on what it is that can make life better for you. When you have a situation where two political leaders offer their service to a prime minister, say, let us help you to deal with your most fundamental right to the citizens of this country, which is national security, crime. And you as a prime minister say, I do not care, get away from us. That's virtually saying I'd rather the country flow in blood than to do what is right. So those people, however, there were people who were pleased about this when Keith Roy said, I don't want them, and people were actually applauding. Those people can't change. It basically means that I don't care. I am a blind loyalist to a party, even if it may cause the death of my wife, the kidnapping of my son, the rape of my daughter. That is their business. But that base, what Keith Rowley is trying to do now is solidify that base. And that is why he's pushing heavy race baiting. That is why he keeps pushing the agenda of it's us versus them, because of exactly what you said. That concept of the PNM base is now shifting. And that is where he is very concerned that Gary Griffith, because of the type of support I have in the corridor, which would have been primarily totally controlled by the PNM, he now has to reallocate his resources. The PNM's game plan was initially San Fernando and Sangre Grande. Maintain San Fernando, go after Sangre Grande. And all the resources will be hundreds of millions in taxpayers' money in it. Now, he has to pull back to ensure that his rear echelon back at the ranch, his own base is going to hold. And that is why he started his meeting in St. James, because he is fearful.
What do you think people will vote for in the local government election? Now, of course, we know that local government election, you elect councillors to serve you in very different ways, garbage collection, minor roads, drainage, so on. But what do you think people will actually be basing their vote on?
I do not want people to vote just on voting out the government. And that has happened for so far too long in this country. You try to vote out a government because of frustration. I want the country to appreciate the fact that, listen, you can vote in people. You can vote in and understand. The same way it is I was able to transform that police service. It was the least trusted, least amount of confidence in all the arms of the public service. By the time I left, it was the most trusted. Almost every child wanted to be a police officer. By the time I finish by 2030, I want every single child to want to be a politician. Change that mindset. The same way we were able to transform the police service, I want to show to the country that we will be able to transform every aspect of what is required to make you comfortable, whether it is health, the economy, the environment, sport, social development, the community, national security. So this is not just about crime. This is about making sure and letting the country be aware. You make the choice as to which political party, which leader has the capability to transform the public service to provide you with the basic needs that you require and demand in local government.
So let's say, the NTA would win a few seats in PNM stronghold corporations. Let's say you win a few in Port of Spain City Corporation, a PNM controlled corporation, and even within UNC controlled corporations. Are you contesting in San Fernando as well?
No,
No,
no, we're not.
San Juan Laventille, Point Fortin. Well, it's mostly
It's the corridor from Port of Spain straight to Arima, and then from Diego Martin to Arima and Point Fortin.
in any event. Let's say you do get a couple of seats. What do you expect? How do you expect to bring about change in a majority controlled regional
Oh,
corporation or
perfect.
municipality?
At this time, and I'll give you an example, the individuals we have, when Keith Rowley boasted about his slate of candidates, what we have, I was looking for talent, persons that can unify the community without even needing the finances that you have from the state. I mean, that will help. But even like what took place recently with the flooding, you couldn't find one police officer. This is no fault of the police officers. It is leadership. The individuals we have selected are persons that can assist the community even without us having control of a corporation. So as soon as we have a foothold, and that's what I ask the country, believe, give us that chance. The individuals we have in local government, this has never happened before. We have candidates, whether it be councillors, aldermen, or possible mayors, previous attorney generals and ambassadors to the United Kingdom, previous captain of a national men's hockey football team, the previous mayor of Arima, a three-time extempo champion, the last person to score a hat-trick for Trinidad and Tobago in any major game, the previous national goalkeeper. The list goes on. So we have quality persons involved in sport, culture, in development of anything that can assist the community, and those individuals are role models in their community, and that is what we want. So whether we win the corporation or not, and I believe we have a very good chance to win certain corporations, which is what happened in 2010. Let me quickly add, that is what happened. In 2010, it was 11-3. And the 11-3 is that 4 corporations went against the PNM because of the unification of that bridge constituency and the UNC. That was Diego Martin, Tunapuna, Arima, and San Fernando, which presently is held by the PNM. And that is why Keith Rowley is concerned. He looked at the maps, he analyzed the situation, he realized if this becomes a repeat of 2010, he's going to lose some of his own corporations.
What will you bring to the people?
The first belief, people actually believe that politics is something that is of no value. People are disgusted by politicians, just by what you saw last night. When people in your own political party attack you, and then he's trying to blame other people. Those were PNM supporters attacking him last night. And so what we want to bring is the degree to understand that we are really here to serve and to change and transform the needs, the services that can be done to provide citizens with their rights that they require.
What happens if the NTA going forward, you win seats and so on, but you don't continue to see eye to eye with the UNC and their policies?
Well, again, when you look at coalitions, coalitions, there will always be concerns, but the main thing with coalitions, it prevents democratic dictatorship, for want of a better word, and which is what we presently have now. When we have a situation, if you have a government with one individual and he calls all the shots, everyone stays quiet. I have several cabinet members who tell me constantly that they are frustrated, but they cannot say a word because they are fearful of one individual. When you have that concept of coalition, but you have good leadership in the political parties that have the strength to communicate, communication and dialogue is going to be the big difference to prevent what took place in 2010 and 2015. And that was no fault of the UNC. So what I'm trying to say is if you circle the wagons, you bring the political parties together. This is what the country wanted in 1986. This is what the country wanted in 2010. I intend to promise to the country that those things that the country wanted, it is going to last this time around. Coalitions, you have over 80 other countries had coalition governments or presently have. That's almost half of the countries in the world.
So how would you respond to persons who would say that there's no difference then with you and the UNC?
Well, I don't know how you could say that there's no difference. Political parties will have different leaders, different style. The one thing is that if it is we try to deliver and we try to ensure that certain things can be done to provide you with your rights, that is what is required. That is what people want. That is all they need to ensure that politicians, there are checks and balances, you respect us, you're not arrogant, you don't be high-handed, you don't abuse your authority. That is what I intend to do, and I intend to bring that to the table in a united force of political parties to serve.
And of course, is this a hint as to what will come when it's 2025 general election? Will an accommodate? Is it a natural progression for the NTA to also have an accommodation with the UNC?
Yeah, definitely. What I'm looking at is the maths. What happened in 1983, for the few people who may remember 1983 local government. It after the UNR got their 91,000 votes in 1981, they then formed a type of accommodation with the ULF, and it played its part where they started realizing if we form this, and they actually won seats in PNM stronghold areas, and that built the foundation towards 1986. The country wants a 1986. They want the country to unite. They're fed up of the division, the hatred, the bitterness you see, especially by this one individual who has divided the country. So that is what you're going to get. That we are going to use what is this local government election, this strategic alliance to form a proper coalition. And I continue to invite other political parties that are not presently engaged in this local government election, come on board, be by our side, let us circle the wagons, work together. And with all of these different individuals coming together, it is going to ensure we have a unified force to serve the country properly.
And as we close, what would be your campaign message?
Two words. Firstly, to believe that the country can change, believe that politicians are not corrupt, believe that they are not arrogant, high-handed, self-centered, and to cause you to be fearful. And also, one word: enough of the hatred, enough of that arrogance, enough of trying to feel that you can utilize state resources to attack anyone who maybe who has a difference in opinion to you. I ask the country, believe and understand. On the 14th of August, send a loud and clear message to Keith Rowley: enough.
Of course, Gary Griffith, political leader of the NTA, former Commissioner of Police. I mean, thank you so much for joining us
My
and, of course,
pleasure.
sharing your message with the nation.